Hi from me, Jared Epstein, and welcome to another episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. This week, we're excited to learn about BBYO South Africa, a pluralistic Jewish teen movement. Following that, we get to know the Durban Jewish Social Services and the amazing work that they do for their local community. But first up, Batya Bricker joins us again with her book, Goodnight Golda, all about 32 women that have helped shape Jewish history and Jewish mindset. This week, we talk about the theme of courage.
There are many Goodnight Golda women who had the courage to say, imagine if. The first woman we encountered was a lady called Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr was born in Germany. She had to escape because of persecution, and she goes via London to Hollywood and lands up in LA. It's here that she becomes a Hollywood star, and she is known as the most beautiful woman in Europe and then in Hollywood. You would think that that would be enough, but Hedy Lamarr, in between takes, had a little table in her caravan, and on that table were nuts and bolts, bits and bobs, and she would tinker between takes. When World War broke out, she felt that tinkering was simply not enough. And so she partnered with a fellow inventor, George Ansel, and they created something called the Secret Communication System. The war was fought with torpedoes. And the thing was that torpedoes were controlled by radio, and messages were sent via radio waves. The problem was that the enemy could intercept those radio waves and then destroy the torpedoes. What they invented was something called frequency hopping, where the message would hop between frequencies and so evade capture or detection by the enemy. They presented this to the American Navy at the time, but technology had yet to catch up with them, and so it was never used. But it's this technology that became the foundation for what we know today as GPS, the Global Positioning System, and Bluetooth, and cell phones, and Wi-Fi. And that's why Hedy Lamarr, apart from being the most beautiful woman in Europe and a Hollywood star, also became the mother of Wi-Fi. And I think a woman who would have related to that is a woman called Pramila. She was born Esther Victoria Abraham to a nice Baghdadi family. And believe it or not, she became the first Bollywood star. And it was really a quirk of cultural fate that gave rise to her stardom. You see, movies were shown in the movie houses, and in between reels, when they had to change reels, there was a 15-minute interval. And during that time was an opportunity for some kind of live entertainment. But at the time, it was inappropriate for Muslim and Hindu families to let their girls entertain on a stage. But the Jewish families were a little more liberal at the time. And so Pramila became the entertainment in that 15-minute interval. She would come and do a dance, and this is how she became famous. When Bollywood started, the very beginning of Bollywood, it was Pramila who became the very first Bollywood star. And she starred in many Bollywood films. She was beautiful. She then started her own production company. She even did her own stunts. And she even entered Miss India and won. So she really reached incredible heights in both her career and her dreams from starting really very small. Donna Karan is a lady who was possibly inspired by women like Pramila. Donna Karan was considered, or is considered, the queen of 7th Avenue. She was born to a fashion family. Her father was a tailor, but she was reaching the peak of her career at a time when women were going back to work, and they didn't want to be in tight corsets and pencil skirts and uncomfortable while they worked. And so Donna invented the kinds of clothes that she wanted to wear going to work. She invented what is called the Essentials line, We would call it a capsule wardrobe now, but it was 7 items that you could mix and match that were comfortable, stylish, and also affordable. Because women who were now going to work, she understood that women who were now going to work didn't have trust funds or didn't have enormous amounts of cash to spend on a wardrobe. And so she made her clothes affordable. And that was the start of DKNY, which became a global brand, has become a global brand, and continues to set trends in what women wear and how they feel. So these 3 women modeled for us how if you dream it, it can be, and you can make it happen.
BBYO South Africa is a pluralistic Jewish teen-led movement which launched in South Africa just over a year ago and has already made waves. Outgoing President Lille Fleischman and Regional Director for South Africa Daniel Levenstein tell us more about this global organization.
BBYO is all about connecting Jewish teens around the world together. Basically, Jewish teens join our youth organization and they get part of a global network of Jewish teens where they have access to incredible opportunities from a local level from programming on a local level, from your everyday experience going to movies, having fun with friends, to charity events, and then all the way to another level of international opportunities and connecting our Jewish community to the rest of the world. And that's what our goal is to create one big network of Jewish communities around the world.
It is also really special because it's completely teen-led. So there's a huge focus on teen leadership in the Jewish community and forming leadership skills that you can use to lead your Jewish communities and be a part of your Jewish communities, and in turn learn more about yourselves as Jews in the world today.
Values that we encourage at BBYO South Africa is inclusivity is the main one. BBYO is a pluralistic organization, which means we cater for all different types of Judaism, no matter your level of Judaism, no matter how religious you are, you will always have a place at BBYO. And this goes beyond your level of religiousness, but more so on, if you have any physical disabilities or any social disabilities as well. BBYO is a place for everyone, and that's something we really pride ourselves on.
Something important to note is that BBYO actually doesn't stand for anything anymore. BBYO used to be affiliated with B'nai B'rith, so it used to stand for B'nai B'rith Youth Organization, but it became independent of that organization, and so now BBYO doesn't stand for anything. At the end of 2019, I met a family friend who suggested to me that I get involved in BBYO in some way and start a chapter here, because BBYO had existed in South Africa previously between the 60s and 80s in Cape Town, Johannesburg and Durban, or in KwaZulu-Natal, and it slowly sort of faded away, and so there was kind of a desire to bring it back. And I forgot about it for a while, and then during peak COVID in the middle of 2020, I was talking to my mom and she suggested that we set up a meeting with some of the people in charge in BBYO overseas. And so we set up a meeting to kind of discuss what BBYO could do here and how we could maybe get it started and if it would be beneficial, and just to hear what it was about, because I knew nothing about it. And we had a meeting, and afterwards I was so inspired and I was so motivated, and I immediately got on the phone to my friends and I said, I want to start this here and I want you guys to be involved. And I kind of spoke to everyone that I could. I got in touch with the teens that I'd spoken to on the meeting, and we set up a program. And it was open to teens from Joburg, Cape Town, anywhere in South Africa that were just interested in hearing what this movement was about, because I was so excited to restart it here and I wanted to sort of share it with everyone. And so we started it like that with the program. It was virtual. Most of the programming things that we did were virtual for the first almost a year because of COVID, which was actually a great opportunity because it gave me and a lot of my friends the opportunity to meet with teens from all over the world in a really interesting and kind of new sort of environment, but it was very beneficial in its own way. And that's how we got involved, and that's how we started, and it's kind of just gone upwards from here. Now we have a chapter in Cape Town and Johannesburg, so the chapters are sort of local communities of our South Africa BBYO region. And we do regular programs in Cape Town. We have about 30 to 40 members right now, spanning from grades 9 or 10 through to grade 12, which is the grade I'm in. And in Johannesburg, it's about the same. So yeah, it's very amazing to see how far it's come.
My role, I'm the regional director of BBYO South Africa, and where I would differ from the usual type of counselor on a youth organization, it's very different in the sense that I'm more of a professional staff, and my job is to just manage and oversee BBYO in the entire region, from Cape Town and Johannesburg, where we have our 2 chapters. And my role is basically helping the teens by helping them have the responsibility, helping them achieve what they desire, and also mainly organizing all the international opportunities that they get to go on, the international trips that we offer, and facilitating the connection between our community and the rest of the world. But in terms of the decision-making, the judgment, the power, the level of leadership, that's all up to the teens and not up to me. A good analogy we use is if we were having a wedding, the teens would be having the wedding and I'd be the wedding planner, making their dreams become a reality. That's how we see it.
We have a lot of programs. They could range from colour bakes to leadership programs to fun events. We really do all sorts of things, and it's kind of just to build at the moment, build social relationships between Jewish teens here, and to introduce teens who may not be at the Jewish schools in Cape Town to kids in their Jewish community. Another example of something really amazing that BBYO does is every year they have an annual convention called International Convention, which takes place in a different US city, and every single year, it's in February. Thousands of teens come together for this giant global celebration. Basically, Jewish teens come together for a sort of week-ish long conference that's filled with leadership training, outings, and experiences in the local city that the conference is in. And there are amazing guest speakers. It takes place over a weekend, so they'll celebrate Shabbat or the Sabbath together. And in February this year, we sent our first delegation to America, to Baltimore. And it was really amazing to see something like that happen, because it was the first time we've sent a group of teens representing our community overseas.
Every 6 months or so, we host an elections amongst the teens. The teens all get together for, first of all, a celebration of the last leadership ending their term, and also electing a new leadership. So everyone in the chapter comes together, and the teens that want to become the leaders stand up in front of everyone, and basically they give a speech on what they can do for our chapter, how they can move it forward, and they run for various different roles, and they compete with each other, which is some good, healthy competition, and their fellow teens are the ones, not us, we have 0 as staff, but their teens are the ones who elect each other and elect their future presidents who they think can take the chapter to the next level. And it's incredible to give teens at that age, from 16 years old, that power and leadership, that they really can demonstrate that from a young age. And we've seen that they have that potential, and they have that desire to want to be a leader of a youth organization, even at 16, 17 years old.
One of my favorite moments from my time in BBYO would probably be the first time that we had a program, and kind of just seeing people that I knew being excited over something as much as I was, and seeing how many opportunities BBYO had for them and getting involved as a result of that. And that is something that I've always been very proud of, and that's made me feel really proud that I brought it here and then I restarted it here. I also wanted to add that BBYO definitely would not be the success that it is today without the help of the staff that we've appointed here and all of my friends that have served with me on the past 2 boards that we've had in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. So it's definitely been a team effort, and I'm very, very proud of all of the people that have been involved in it with me and taken this idea and helped to turn it into something accessible for everyone. And I'm very proud of the movement we've brought into South Africa and the community that we've built.
Durban Jewish Social Services provides for the many needs of the local community. Janine Sapperson tells us all about the support that the organization provides.
Durban Jewish Social Services is an organization that was started many, many years ago, and it was really to fulfill the needs of the Durban Jewish community for people who just were struggling at that specific time. So we have continued to service the community for all these years based on the fact that there are Jewish people in our community who struggle one way or another, and so we have continued to assist, make sure that there isn't any Jewish person in the KwaZulu-Natal Jewish community that goes without a roof over their head or food on their table. Durban Jewish Social Services, as it is now known, was started in 1898 as the Benevolent Fund. Then in 1955 it changed to Durban Jewish Welfare, and it became known as Durban Jewish Social Services in May of 1996. There's always been a need. You know, I know that for many years it was thought that the Jewish community was self-sufficient and everybody just worked like a fantastically oiled machine. But that is really not the case. There are people who have struggled since the beginning of time, right? And I think this community in Durban is really, really mighty. And back in the day, it was a very large community. Now it's an aging, dwindling community. But we fight well above our weight. And, you know, I think it's not the quantity for us. I really think it's the quality, because I know that we offer support and help for families in a way that I have not ever seen done anywhere else in the world. The way that the Durban community do it, I know we do it in South Africa as a whole, but the Durban Jewish community are very individual-centric, so we have to analyze, go in, do home visits. It's a very holistic approach to find out exactly what the needs of that particular family is, and then we galvanize into action to do whatever we can to fundraise in order to be able to help them. At Durban Jewish Social Services, our jewel in the crown is Jewel House, where we have members of our community who are slightly different and they are not able to live on their own. So we have sheltered accommodation for them, and they have sheltered employment, and they go up to Masada every morning to do their work. And they get paid for it, and then we accommodate them in Jewel House, and they are looked after so beautifully by staff who love them as their own, and they are treated like they're important, like they're heard. We look after them from start to finish and cover all their basic needs. So that's what we do as our primary concern. A very exciting project that we're working on and working very closely with is Beth Shalom, which is the Durban Jewish retirement home. We are going to be moving onto their property towards the end of the year, so we will be leaving the Jewel House that we have here and moving Jewel House onto the Beth Shalom property, and they will just have a different quality of life, and I think a better quality of life for their home life. We have a shop on the premises where we get a lot of donations of clothing and furniture, so if someone is in the community and they have an opportunity to go for a job interview, they can come and shop in our shop and just take whatever they need and boost their confidence, make them feel like they've got something nice and new to wear to interviews, or just generally to make them feel better. And we also have a beautiful home that we have very recently filled with 6 younger adults who are really all in the same kind of position of struggling a little to find their feet in society. And we have put them all in one home, and it's the most beautiful thing to go there and see these young individuals who were struggling prior to this and now feel that they have somewhere to land, they're important enough to their group friends, and that's been something that's relatively new for us, but we are so gratified and thrilled with the progress of it. There are a lot of values that are embraced by social services halachically, or according to the Bible, according to the Torah. The sages say that if you help one soul, it's as if you've helped a whole world. And I think that epitomizes what Durban Jewish Social Services does enormously. A very big project that we do is a New Year directory. It is our single largest fundraiser of the year. And it's a booklet that has been produced for, I think, over 25 years. It's a directory, so it's full of advertising supplied by ex-Durbanites from all over the world, very generously, who support this fundraising cause. And thanks to COVID, actually, we've gone digital. So that really has made a very big difference to being able to reach more people. Personally, as Janine Sapperson, this is hands down the best job I've ever had in my life. And the reason I say that is because there is something unbelievable attached to helping people. And that's the highlight of what we do all day, every day. In some way, we are helping and supporting someone who is in this Jewish community of ours, which is really mighty.
That brings us to the end of this week's episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a Facebook message at Spirit Sister Productions. From me, Jared Epstein, and the Simcha team, remember this from famous Jewish author and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel. There may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest.